like you're supposed to have it all together, but inside you're wondering how everyone else makes it look so easy? You're not alone. This is Southern Sisters, a place for women who want to grow without the guilt, find purpose in the messy middle, and be reminded that you were made for more. Make sure you stick around. We always save the bloopers for the end. Welcome to our episode of Southern Sisters. We're so glad you're here with us today. This is going to be a fantastic episode. We have a friend here. Her name is Angie Dees, and she is from Year Round Pantry on Instagram. And I have followed Angie for the last few years and love all of the fantastic information that she puts out into the social sphere. I feel like, Angie, your gift is that you make preparedness and family home life seem totally doable. Like the way you present things is just in a simple way, and it's a gift. So welcome. We're so glad that you're here joining us.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. This is going to be great. Okay, so before we jump into our sister segment and icebreaker question, I just wanted to remind everyone we have a website. It's called thesouthernsisterhood.com, and we just send out a monthly newsletter. If you haven't signed up for that, you should, because we send out a freebie every month. It's the way to know what's going on. And for the month of April, any subscribers to the newsletter, we're doing a drawing. So there will be 5 winners for a copy of the book that I wrote last year. So anyways, it will be really great. Thank you, Wealth and Health Benefits Plus, for sponsoring that giveaway. Okay, so we are going to start off with our sister segment, Rapid Fire, so our listeners can get to know Angie just a little bit better. Angie, what's something that you do every day?
Every day. So it's not interesting. I pray and read my scriptures every day.
Oh, I love that. Okay. What is one word that your family would use to describe you?
Emotional lately, for sure.
Sometimes life is a lot.
We're gonna blame it on the hormones.
For real though, it's a lot. Okay, what is a pantry staple you always keep stocked?
I love our canned proteins. I always have canned proteins on hand. They're shelf stable and easy to throw a quick dinner together.
All right, early bird or night owl?
I used to be a night owl, but the older I've gotten, the more early bird I've gotten. I love the sunrises.
Very good. One thing every mom should be prepared for but isn't.
Okay, this is what I am going through. Nobody told me how hard it was, and maybe it's just hard for me having that transition from being a mom and like taking care of kids and all the things to empty nester. Like that's been something is like completely taking me for a loop.
It is hard. Well, because your son is on a mission just like Kate, right?
Yeah, he's home, but he's in Utah now. So he's not home. Like he's working and living in Utah. And then my daughter graduates this year, so I'm not an empty nester completely yet. But we're there. She graduates in a month-ish.
It's a lot, and I think that it's something that you really aren't prepared for. Okay, most unexpected life lesson motherhood has taught you.
That you can think you've done everything right and do things better than you go into it saying, I'm going to do this better or that better. And then like your kids have their own agency, and that's just, you can do all the things, check all the boxes, but it's their journey, their life at some point, and that's not necessarily a reflection on you.
100%. All right. If your house had to run on one meal for a week, what would it be?
One meal for a week. Oh my. I mean, we go through phases where we can be obsessed with a meal, but then we like get sick of it. Okay, so right now, me and my daughter are obsessed with these things called Tiffany plates. It's just a girl on the internet, and her name is Tiffany, and she's been doing, it's just kind of a hodgepodge of like, she does a turkey, and then she does a little bit of, like an artichoke heart, or, it's just a mix of things for lunch. And so it makes you, it's kind of like an adult Lunchable. And me and
That's
my daughter,
awesome.
we've just enjoyed having the variety and having a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And yeah, that's our obsession lately.
That's very cool. What brings you peace instantly?
um, Knowing that God is in charge. Like, I'm very much a planner. I'm an overthinker. I'm a try to predict it and prevent it type of person. And that's a very anxiety ridden place to be if you don't come from a place of, I can do the best I can, but ultimately God is in charge. And He's the one that's, without Him, it's harder. And He can multiply our efforts and He can just bring peace in a situation where there's no out. Like you're just stuck in a hard time, or there's no fixing it or taking it away. Just that God is in charge and He's mindful of us.
I love that. All right. What is one habit that's changed your family culture?
A habit that's changed our family culture. I don't know that it's changed it's been something we've always done, but I'm really big on traditions, on meeting and gathering and creating the things that are going to hopefully make my kids and their wives and their families want to come back. Like, that's the goal.
That is the goal. Come back and bring people.
Yeah, and
Okay.
good food.
And good food. It matters. Okay. What do you think is one of the biggest myths about preparedness?
It's one of my biggest pet peeves, actually, is that the doomsday, we're all going to be fighting each other and living in bunkers, and like it's a self thing. And when reality, it's like, yes, you need to prepare your own home and be able to take care of your own family, but really we can't do it without each other, and that it needs to be a community. If everybody in the community is more prepared, the better off everybody is.
That is awesome. And the truth. Okay. When life feels chaotic, what do you do first?
Pray and make a list.
Make brain dump. Yep.
I
All right. What is one thing you wish more women of faith talked about?
Something I really appreciate when I'm reading back in history on either my own family history stories or church history stuff is when they were going through something hard and they were struggling. you know, of just that a lot of times you get the feeling that everybody has it all together and that they're going through a hard thing, and then they just push through, and it was put your shoulder to the wheel and all the things. But I think it can feel like a lonely space when you're going through something and you feel like, because you're struggling, to feel like the Lord isn't answering your prayers, to feel like there's something wrong with you because you are struggling. Wow, sorry.
You're fine.
Just to know that sometimes there is a struggle, and that there's not, I'm just so tough, because the more I talk to people, everybody struggles. Everybody has their times when they're, okay, we got this. And the times where like, are you listening? Heavenly Father, are you listening to me? So just more openness about not trying to put on the front that you got it all together.
It's the truth. So last week I aired an episode about how my husband's business has been struggling this year. And I felt like I needed to do it right then, because so often it's like you say, like you read the stories or you hear about somebody and you were like, yeah, that one time I was struggling, but it felt fake to me to not put it out there and be like, this is where we're at. He hasn't had a paycheck this year because his business, we've needed to pay our employees and bills, and that means we come last. Well, what does that look like? How are we making it through? And it has been so incredible to me to hear so many people be like, I can't believe you shared that. I can't believe you said that. And it was so great to hear somebody actually talking about the struggle and not just being like, here's our pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah. And it's definitely not in like a victim way. Like the way you
No.
shared it was so good. It was just like, look, I am struggling. And it just makes you feel not alone. And that everyone else struggles and that we're struggling together and in our own way, and that it's not perfect and you're not weak or your testimony isn't failing because you did struggle, you know?
Well, and you just look around and you're like, why is this happening? I do everything that I'm supposed to. Well, it's because it's just life. It's the way it
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah.
Okay. In one sentence, this is going to be hard. What does being prepared really mean to you? If you could nail it down to one sentence.
Being ready physically, but also spiritually, because the spiritual helps get through the other stuff.
Yeah. That's the truth. Okay, so we're going to skip the icebreaker question because that was really great. And it kind of leads into our discussion with the answer that you gave. So, what does it actually mean to be prepared for the hard beyond just physical preparedness? Like, what does that actually look like? With talking about adversity for April, it's been so heavy to think about all the things we see going on in the world and everything. Like, it's like you said, for every time that someone hears my story or hears what's going on in the world, like they just come up and they're like, me too. It's almost like everywhere you look, there's fires.
Yeah.
So preparing for the hard, like how do we do that versus just physical preparedness?
Honestly, this might sound silly, but just expecting that there's going to be hard things, and just knowing that there's going to be, I mean, growing up in the church, you know that hard times are prophesied of, they're going to happen. It's part of what's going on. I feel like when you expect to go through life and it be rosy all the time, you kind of just set yourself up to fall harder because you're expecting something that's unrealistic. So kind of adjusting your expectations and knowing that life is going to be hard. There are going to be things happening in the world, and like your intention behind it helps you prepare better instead of coming from like feeling like you're being blindsided. Like, just expect the hard. Not in a negative way there either, but just knowing that life is going to throw curveballs at you. That's been something that I also, full transparency, we went through something really hard for 11 months, and I was very much on that roller coaster of, okay, we got this. No, we don't. Yes, we do. No, we don't. But just knowing that things are going to be hard and that it doesn't have to be a permanent thing, that they're temporary and we get through things.
I think that is the key to recognizing the moment of hard, is just not turning to the bitter of it. You know, because when you have moments like that, when you're like, we got this. No, we don't. We got it. No, actually, we still don't got it.
Yeah.
So I just, oh, it's so hard.
Very hard.
Do you mind sharing a little bit about your experience where you
With
guys
my
went
husband's
through
leg?
hard? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sure. So a year ago, no, 2 years ago, wow. 2 years ago in May, he fell off a ladder working on our camp trailer and broke his leg. Both bones right above the ankle. And it's interesting because my son came in and said, Mom, Dad fell. And I went out and saw him sitting on the ground holding his leg. And I had this instant peace wash over me and this feeling of, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And I was like, I went into just, let's get him to the hospital mode. I'm like, Addie, go get the car, pull it around. Seth, grab the crutches and help him in. I was canning jam and I looked like a mess. So I ran in and changed real quick and grabbed a backpack. And anyways, the whole way there, I just kept getting this, he's going to be okay. He's going to be okay. And I've had those kinds of thoughts before enough to know that they weren't my own, that the Holy Ghost was telling me, this is going to be okay. And we get to the hospital, and we've never had a broken bone in our family. So in my mind, they were going to give him a cast or whatever, and we were going to go home, and it was going to be a month or two or whatever. And, we had savings, we had food storage. I'm like, we got this. Because my husband's on the contractor side of his job, so if he doesn't work, he doesn't get paid. There's no time off, no paid time off, no none of that. I'm like, okay, we got this. And then as the night went on and the x-rays came in and they transferred us to a level 1 hospital and they were like, we're keeping him overnight. He's having surgery in the morning. I started to go, okay. I was still like in that, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. We get him settled at the hospital and we go home. And I remember telling my son my experience. I'm like, we're going to be okay. He's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. I had this feeling and whatever. The next morning I come in and he gets out of surgery and he has an external fixator. So it's all that hardware on the outside of your foot. And I didn't know what it was. I'd never seen one before. And that's kind of when it started to sink in that this wasn't just a normal break and that we were probably in for a little bit longer of a journey. And, 3 months. So he had 7 surgeries, 3 revisions, so hardware revisions. He had a pulmonary embolism. He was in the hospital for AFib. I had to administer antibiotics to a PICC line for, I don't know, was it 4 to 6 weeks? I can't even remember now. Yeah, and just a lot. There was a lot that happened between then and when he finally got back to work. And it was one of those things where you think you're making progress and then your feet get kicked out from underneath you. And then you think you make your progress and that goalpost kept moving. And there were times when I was like, we got this. And there was times when I'm like, we're a sinking ship. Like, I don't know how this is going to work. And lots of prayers, lots of blessings, lots of tender mercies. There was a lot of tender mercies that happened. I graduated a food photography program and gained clients and was able to help keep our heads above water and keep a roof over our heads. And that was a massive blessing because that prompting came several years before I even started the program to start looking for something. And I just thought I was being crazy and that my kids were moving out. And that's what I gotta find me or something. And turns out the Lord was more mindful and knew that I was going to need something long before I ever did. And so there was those kinds of things. There was one night when he was in a lot of pain in the beginning and we were chasing the pain and it wasn't time to take pain medicine again. And for whatever reason, if I would run my fingers up his leg just tenderly, it must have had something to do with the nerves. It would let him fall asleep and it would just, I don't know, trick nerves or do something to make him take the edge off and he would fall asleep. And so for hours I would sit there and do that to help him fall asleep and stay asleep. I felt like it was a newborn baby type thing because anytime I would stop, he would fidget and I'm like, okay, keep going. But I was listening to the Saints book and it was when they were making their way across to Utah and moms were burying kids and people were losing feet and to frostbite. And I'm sitting there in air conditioning with all the modern medicine to help him keep his leg. And I just was like, okay, I'll be grateful, So there was times like that where we would go to the hospital and see an old man who had the same, for a follow-up visit. And he had the same fixator, same break, but he had no one to take care of him. He was in an assisted place trying to heal. And there was always things along the way that reminded us that we're being taken care of and to be grateful and that it is going to be okay. And once he got back to work, right there at the end, we found a new surgeon who fixed him and we didn't lose his leg or anything like that. We were worried there for a little bit, but I felt a little reprimanded by the Lord. I told you it was going to be okay. But I was like, yeah, but 11 months? We had to go through this for 11 months? I was ready for 3.
Why is it so hard for us to give up that control?
Yeah, that was a massive lesson for me. The preparer, the fixer, yeah.
And I don't even know what, I can't imagine. I feel like if you're thinking okay, what is the thing that keeps you from trying to control life's outcomes to instead being okay and just anchored when things fall apart? I think there's a definite, you go through all the feelings. And I think that's this that we're talking about. It's sometimes you're like, Jesus, take the wheel. I can't I can't.
Yeah.
Can't do anymore. And then other times we are like, oh, I know this. It's going to be fixable. Like, this is going to be great. I had
Yeah.
that moment this week. I was looking at stuff and I was like, maybe I should reach out to our home equity and like try and do this so that we could get some equity out of our home. We have a great rate and blah, blah, blah. We've been paying on it for a long time and stuff. And so I thought I could do this, but we're self-employed and banks hate self-employed people. And so like,
Yeah.
I spent a couple of hours talking to them and I was reading the book, The Circle Maker, and
Okay.
it's by Mark Battinson. It's one that I've been reading the last few weeks. And I got to the point where it was like, it said, sometimes you try to manufacture your own miracles
Mm.
and you need to stop
Yeah.
because you are blocking God's miracles by trying to
Yeah.
do it yourself. And I was
Yeah.
like, I just got slapped by a book.
Yeah. 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 And obviously you need the Lord loves effort, but sometimes there's like I can't fix his leg. I can't I can't work any harder than I'm working, and so you do the best you can, and then you have to trust that the Lord is going to magnify our efforts and fill in the gaps. And I had moments of that too where our savings ran out and then something came along that was like, oh my gosh, like huge blessing, and then it just by the skin of our teeth every time the Lord came in, and there was tender mercies all along the way. And so even now with things we're going through now, I feel like it taught me a lot about having that anchor. And there's that saying about borrowing tomorrow's worry, like, and taking it on today when it's not going to fix it today. You got to just focus on the controllable, what you can control today, and trust that the Lord is going to provide a way, one way or another.
And it's his will.
I know. Doesn't he know I like lists and plans?
It's the truth. I think we all do. We're like, wait. I just got thrown a curveball. What is
I know.
happening?
I know.
When I was thinking about this, one of my very favorite conference talks from this past weekend was Sister Emily Bell Freeman's talk about best days and worst days is what it's called. And I
Yeah.
wanted to quote her for just a second because I loved it so much.
So good.
She said, in Matthew 14, Peter and the other disciples were caught in a storm when Jesus approached the ship. Peter cried out, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water. And Jesus answered with an invitation, come. So Peter stepped out of the boat. He walked on the water to go to Jesus. Best day. But in the very next verse, we read that Peter saw the wind, became afraid, and began to sink. Worst day in a matter of moments. Have you ever accepted an invitation from the Lord and then felt unequal to the task? We all know what that is, to doubt, to experience the sinking moments. But notice where Jesus was when Peter accepted the invitation that seemed too big. He wasn't shouting instructions from the shore or offering advice from the safety of the boat. He was in the water with Peter within reaching distance. As you accept the Lord's invitations on both your best days and your worst, the same will be true for you.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I know. It's in that when you're it. So like I'm sitting here from a perspective of been through it, and you're sitting in that I'm in it, and it's like it's so easy for me to go back and say, you just gotta trust the Lord, you just gotta. I remember my mom texted me, and I was like, when is this gonna end? I'm like, I can't. And she's like, it's all gonna work out, Ange. And I'm like, that's the last thing I want to hear, you know. And
right?
but
This is
it
for
is
your good.
true. Yeah, and it is true. And I think one of the biggest learning things for me was to have more faith and to trust through it, because I can look back and see the Lord's hand all along the way.
And I love it because that is literally what the scriptures are. It's just a collection of stories. Daniel in the lion's den,
Mm-hmm.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, the story of Esther, like God, Moses, letting the
Mm-hmm.
people, leading them out of Egypt.
Yeah.
All of it is just a collection of stories of God showing up.
Yeah. And I love how in
And
Moses' story, they include, because a lot of them, they don't include the doubt. But Moses was like, I can't talk. I'm not a good speaker. What are you, like, fix me, fix it. Make me better. And the Lord's like, I will be with you. He didn't necessarily take his weakness away. He said, I will be with you. I will magnify. You show up and I will show up with you.
Yeah. All right. So, in seasons of the storms that we're going through, what role does physical preparedness play? Like food storage, routine system, that kind of thing, in creating
Yeah.
peace.
Yeah. So, uh, so the routine part of it is controlling the controllable. Like, what can you control in your day? Because there's a lot that you're not going to be able to control. You can get up and take care of yourself. You can, read your scriptures, say your prayers, steward your home. Like, there are things you can control. So control what you can control and kind of keep some semblance of a day, because there's some days when you're having your hard days where you want to just lay in bed and be like, I can't even today, you know? And that was always helpful for me. And then, like, just because I was going through all my photography stuff, and I would just, okay, what can I do today to move a needle to finish or to do, like, get my garden going? Like, what can I do today to move that needle forward a little bit? Because there were some days where I was a caretaker for him. He couldn't even get his own, he didn't have hands. He had hands, but he didn't have available hands to go get his stuff. So I was a full-time caretaker, helping him shower, all the things. And so my days look different than they do now, where my capacity is bigger. So having some grace with yourself in that routine, because maybe it does look a little different because your capacity isn't the same as when on a normal, everything's going good day. So that was really important for me, the grace, to control what I can control and try not to worry about what I couldn't control. It's hard. But also, I didn't have to buy laundry detergent the whole time we were going through this. No soap, no shampoo. For years, I have lived the treat your home and your pantry like an extension of the grocery store instead of relying on the grocery store as your pantry. And when we were in the hospital a lot, my kids had stuff to go grab and make for themselves. Like, there was things here that they had access to that I didn't have to worry about them. It brought a lot of peace knowing that those most basic necessities were taken care of, and that I didn't have to worry about, well, how am I going to buy groceries this month? We got to stretch our dollar. So having those things in place, it stretched the dollar we had, it stretched any help that we got, and it got us through. And now I'm in a time of rebuilding that, buy one for now and one for later, and building it back up. But it was a massive blessing. I mean, even like the saline solution for my daughter's contacts, being stocked up on all the things you use every day, and the food, it helped us weather that storm a lot better.
I love that. I feel like right now, just the ways that it's blessing our family is we do not have a ton of extra, but the last 10 years or so, it's something about being a mother and knowing that if my kids don't have food, it's on me.
Yeah.
And just having a whole slew of them, including teen boys. I'm like,
They eat a
they
lot.
eat, they eat a lot. And so I'm
Yes.
like, we've got to be ready. And so over the course of the last 10 to 15 years, we've just been like, okay, we're going to get extra of this and keep it on hand. And there's all sorts of, you can look on Amazon, you can look on different preparedness websites. There have all sorts of products that are supposed to be stable for 5 to up to 30 years. And
Yep.
so that was kind of where we spent our extra money. It has been really great because we're eating oatmeal instead of cereal because we have it on hand. We're using canned chicken for recipes instead of fresh or frozen because we have that on hand. And just eating a lot of pasta rice meals, maybe not so much fresh veggies, but it's been a blessing to me because even though it's been hard and it's been a trying season, I don't feel like my kids really feel it. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
100%. And whenever I teach classes, so you're going through your own personal emergency. it's not like COVID when everybody was feeling it. And so we're all just kind of in it together. And like, we know, we know that people are just struggling to get the basics. Like the world is going on like normal, and you're in this crisis of your own. Your kids are going to still, you know, if they go to school, they're still going to be playing with friends. Friends are still going to be coming over. There's still going to be, life is still moving on like normal. And to be able to lessen that burden on them too, you know, that's a blessing to a mom, because we carry that burden probably more than they would have even carried it, you know? And it does bring massive amounts of peace to know that their life can go on. So like when we were going through all that, my son left on his mission, and we had meat in the freezer to smoke for pulled pork, and my family brought sides. So like we still were able to, you know, like it was just a blessing to be able to still provide, you know. And moms, we take all of that on ourselves, and that's what I think about when I think of Noah's Ark. Everybody thinks about him getting on the ark and leaving, and I'm like, but what about the people who didn't go? Like, what were the moms feeling, you know, when there was no sign of the rain stopping, and they have their little kids? Like, are they like, oh man, I wish I would have this, I wish, you know. And that's kind of how I look at the preparedness stuff. Is I think about my kids a lot, and I think about, I wish, you know, I don't want them to have to suffer, because, you know what I mean? It's just a peaceful feeling for a mom to take that off of their kids.
I love it. Okay, so how do we teach our kids that hard things aren't something to fear, but something that they're capable of walking through?
By being an example. And they were front and center for my roller coaster, for being an example, and then, you know, pointing it out when they're going through something, you know, because they all go through things through school, or that what can we learn from it, and like how can we let it make us better, and like you said earlier, not bitter, and like find the lesson and use it to grow, instead of playing a victim or going in the other direction as an excuse to make poor choices, you know? Like, yeah. Teaching them through what they're going through and being an example yourself.
Well, and I think it's really important to be open and real. Mm-hmm. If they don't know something's going on, like, you have the opportunity to band together as a family, mm-hmm. and to grow together, because honestly, these situations of hard build just as many memories, mm-hmm. and form just as many bonds as the most amazing family vacations.
Oh, I 100% agree with that. Growing up, we didn't have the money. It's like the little things become the big things, and those are some of my most treasured memories. Yeah, and I hope that's the same with my kids. I hope they feel the same way. But yeah, and then you grow closer. You grow closer together because you went through it together. Mm-hmm. In fact, my daughter just did a talk. They do a seminary conference after general conference, and she was asked to give a talk, and she talked about that, where it was growing together, you know, through those things. So
I'm so intrigued to find out years from now what lessons my kids learned from all of this.
I know. They will say, my mom was crazy.
100%, yes. But she made it through.
Yeah, and we're okay.
We're okay. Yeah. All right, so what does it look like to live prepared without becoming anxious, fearful, or overwhelmed with like what ifs? Because like right now, we're in a world mm-hmm. where the future is uncertain. We're surrounded by wars and rumors of wars. We've got gas prices rising again because of what's going on with Iran right now. Like, there's a bunch of boats that can't get through the pass where they need to get to where they're going. And I think that sometimes you can be really anxious if you pay too much attention to that, because we sometimes live in a bubble where we don't realize how much just-in-time inventory affects stores and affects everything that is literally surrounding us. So how do you pay attention and be prepared without falling into that trap of fear and anxiety?
Yeah. Well, I hope, like, we all went through 2020, and I hope everyone realizes that it is quick to run out, like the stores run out quick when everybody's going and buying it up in a rush, and then it's not coming in as fast, you know? I hope that was a lesson that everyone took from that. And it's your intention behind it. Like I feel like if you know you're doing all that you can and to prepare, and when we were first married, this is something that I 100% felt. We didn't have a lot of money. We would use part of a tax return to go get chicken to can or go to a Costco run and buy, to help us stock up. We didn't have a lot of money after every paycheck to put a big chunk to it, But we were just consistently making a sacrifice and an effort to do what we've been told to do. And I feel like the Lord magnified those efforts and helped build something that without including him in it, and that it would have fallen short. But like keeping the Lord involved and just day by day doing what you can, because everybody has a different capacity, their time resources, their money resources, where they live resources, like everybody's different. And just knowing you're doing the best that you can, and knowing that the Lord knows that he will provide and take care of you because you've been doing the best that you can.
I love that story from the scriptures about the prophet who came to the widow and she had literally nothing left.
Yeah.
And she made him a meal with just what she had. And then there was more. And I cling to that because
Yeah.
I'm like, I know that there may be times when there's hard times coming, but God has said, prepare. We've done the best that we can, and there will be enough. There will be enough.
Yep.
And enough to share. Because
Yeah.
you're right. It's not about just you. It's about your community too.
Yeah. Yep. And the Lord knows your heart. He knows where people's intentions are. And I feel like there's some people are like, oh, the Lord will provide, and then they don't do anything. Well, that's not what Noah's tactic was. The Lord told him what was coming, and lo, he spent over 100 years building the ark, doing what he was told. And like, that's the same. We've been told, and we do the best we can with the resources we have. And I feel like the Lord is going to be mindful of that. And yes, keep tabs on what's going on, but everybody's algorithm is so tailored to go after their fears and rage bait and do this and do that. Like it's wild how sophisticated all that is. And you can get caught in a rabbit hole and a spiral and feel like the world is ending. And sometimes it's good to just walk away and just one day at a time, do the best you can. One grocery trip at a time. Sit down and make a plan. Make a plan. What do you eat? What do you already eat? What do you already consume? Are there any consumables that can be turned into reusables? Like I can buy cotton wool balls instead of dryer sheets. That's a reusable thing. Like what can you switch to reusable? Just making a plan and making an effort to use a little bit of your budget every week, every month, whatever that looks like, to work towards it. And I really do believe the Lord is going to be mindful of that.
Okay, so do you have any other like little small hacks that somebody who hasn't started preparing anything but feels overwhelmed by it, like where would you suggest that they start? What should they do?
So I would start getting the year supply of the long-term food storage and supplementing to kind of beef it up. Storing what you eat. Like if you guys are allergic to gluten, it's probably not a good idea to store wheat. Like tailoring your plan to yourself. But one of the biggest tips I have is to sit down and make a meal of 30 meals that you eat all the time. If you can't think of 30, do 15. And then if you double those meals, those 15 meals, you're going to have 30 meals. So then you know what you're going to be eating. And then when things come on sale or you go to Costco, you need spaghetti sauce, you just grab extra spaghetti sauce. And then you start building those meals out for your 3-month food storage, your shorter term food storage. But sitting down and making a list of what you already eat, especially when things like this go on in the world, there's a lot of things that pop up of buy my plan to get prepared. And any cleaning plan, anything that I've ever gotten to try to help get my life in order, it's never worked because it doesn't work for my specific situation. And so I could sit here and lay out exactly everything I do, but ultimately, what are your rhythms in your home? What do you eat? What are your dietary recommendations? Write them down. Write down the breakfasts you enjoy, the lunches you enjoy. We eat a lot of leftovers for lunch, and sometimes it's sandwiches. So, if I know that the lasagna is going to feed us twice, then I know I can have that for lunch the next day, type of thing. But make the lat list of your meals because then you kind of have a starting point of this is what we already eat. And then you can keep your eye out for sales. There's an app, it's FLIPP, Flip. And you put your zip code into that app and it brings up all the weekly circular ads for the stores in your area. And then you can just search, I need cheese. Is cheese on sale this week? You just search it and it tells you what stores in your area has cheese on sale and for what price, all in one place. Meat, canned goods, all of those kinds of things, you can look for those sales and then you can start slowly stocking up on those. And once you buy one can for now and one or two for later, it's all going to start adding up. And then you get to a point where I don't have to use my whole budget towards a grocery trip to feed me this week. And you can kind of start using that budget, some of that budget to capitalize on some of those sales. So once you start getting an established stock, it starts to become a little bit easier to really just focus on things that are on sale.
I think that's fantastic. Okay. Is there anything else you can talk about, like a small, simple way we can begin preparing our hearts, homes, and habits for the unexpected? What do you think?
I mean, this is going to sound very simple, but it's something that I always come back to, and that is including the Lord. I find that when I don't include the Lord in my efforts, it is more of a panicked, anxiety-driven effort, and my family can feel it. But when I'm coming from it from just, this is what we do, this is just a way of life, this has been a way of life my entire life, and including the Lord in my efforts into just, this is what we've been commanded to do. My intention going into it isn't from a place of fear, and it just is a lot more of a peaceful thing overall, and my family appreciates that.
I love that. I think that's fantastic. Okay, the world is not ending, but it's still okay to just be a little bit prepared,
It is. It is. And, you can't eat an elephant all at once, one bite at a time. So even if the world was going to end, we knew in 6 months, you're still going to have to there's only 24 hours in a day. You still just got to take one day at a time and slowly build things up. And it's going to be fine.
I love that. Angie, that's so much good. Thank you so much. Okay. We are going to close with our scripture and reflection question. So our scripture for this time is John 16:33. It says, in the world ye shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. And I think that is the gist of our whole talk today, is just remembering who's in charge and trying our best, to be obedient, to walk with him. I tell my kids all the time when we're talking about life and commandments and God and faith, I'm like, you don't keep the commandments because God wants to punish us and make life hard and give us one more thing to do. You are literally trying to keep the commandments, such as watching what media you're exposed to, walking with him, going to church, reading your scriptures, praying. All of these things put us in a place where we're living on a holier plane. And that's so he can speak to us.
Yeah.
It's just the way it goes. And because of that, we can have confidence in the Lord, even when we can't have confidence in the world around us. And I feel like that is everything and the whole point. Okay, so our reflection question, it's a little brutal, but this has been the month of adversity, so it's just going to feel a little brutal. But I was thinking about this and I thought, should I change it? No, I should not change it. It needs to be this. But where in my life am I trying to avoid or ignore the hard instead of preparing my heart to walk through it with faith? So that is our reflection question for today. And I hope everyone has a wonderful April,
Yeah.
even with all this talk of adversity.
It's shaping up to be a crazy April. But we
It
got
is.
this.
We do. We got this because God's got it.
Yes,
All right.
for sure.
So until next time.
Keep striving, and we'll see y'all soon.
Now it's time for the bloopers. Angie, we always close with, I say, until next time, and then you say, keep striving, and we'll see y'all soon. Can you be Southern for the day?
Sure can. But say it again. I already forgot it.
You're supposed to say, keep striving, and we'll see y'all soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Was
Nailed
that
it.
Southern enough?
It was very Southern. You got this, girl.
Okay.
You did it.
Okay.
Very, very good.